All right. Those who are watching at home, this is me. Listen well. Okay. So we will start out without any further ado. If anybody wants to present, please come forward. I can save my voice. Okay. So your first remedial session with us, Teacher Ivan and I. First and foremost, you need to also think very carefully. Number one, this is going to be your exam. It's not a do or die. It is just trying to test you out whether or not you're able to understand the topics. For those who are watching, if you can hear me, good luck. Okay, so there are always acronyms I love. TICKS here stands for your topic, your information, your command, knowledge, and are you satisfied with the questions that you have? All right, topic, what is the question all about? If the question is about heating and cooling, immediately you have to think in terms of that concept. Information, what is it relevant? Always, if we give you something relevant, you must read it. Because in the case, I don't give you a periodic table, but you know there is the proton number, you know there is the mass number, that would be sufficient. All right? Command. What is it asking you? Is it asking you to state, explain? Does it ask you to describe? Does it ask you to draw? So, you need to read. So the rule number one, you need to read the question. My 3 classes will know this very well. Wordsworth, I hope I can trust you, but if I see someone doing something silly in the exam, I'll ask Teacher Ivan, I'll go after you personally. I will do that. Mark my words, I will. The next one, knowledge. I've always taught you all, never to memorize. Always go for concepts. When you go for concepts, you will never go wrong. Because I can twist and turn the question from A to Z and Z to A and Z to B. But the content will still remain the same. And the last one, are you satisfied? And remember, you're talking about 3 marks. It means you're talking about 3 points. We're not asking you point number 1, 2, and 3 in terms of lines. We're not asking you that. We are asking you for points, keywords. All right? And for your purpose of your revision, please, every day at least spend about maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Just go through, flip through. You don't have to sit the whole day there for 24 hours and study science. That's not how we do. You just take it at bite-sized chunk. That means one step at a time. That's number 1. Number 2, if you really need help for my 3 classes, anytime, you can call me online. I'll definitely talk to you. I will reply to messages, but I need to sleep by 11 o'clock. Don't call me at 3 a.m. in the morning, because if you hear me screaming over the other phone, you know very well I'll come back and go after that person. Never disturb my beauty sleep. Otherwise, you will see a grumpy teacher here. Okay, so let's start without further ado. Now, the first question here is a very typical question. Define the mass number. Now, Amy, define the mass number. So if I do not have this statement here, and it's only just 1 mark, okay, no problem. Okay? No problem at all. You just have to mention the mass number is the number of protons and also neutrons, if I do not have this statement. But what if suddenly I have with reference to the following fluorine atom? Now, in this case here, I forgot to place this. Alright? But it doesn't matter because you have your periodic table. So how would you answer this question here if they are giving you this statement? Yes, you can write down here. The mass number here is number of protons and number of neutrons. Now, for those who see me with shorthand, I'm very lazy to write long sentences, but you know my gist. Okay, that is your definition. But they are asking you with reference to a fluorine atom. And a fluorine atom here would have, now which one here is the mass number? 19. How do you know it's the mass number? It's big. So for the Wordsworth people, this is what I teach my other 3 classes. If you see something which is big, you know it's massive. So it's a mass number, all right? And number 9, the smaller here would be your atomic number, okay? Doesn't matter, we share, okay? So you have the first point, number of protons and neutrons. You must refer to that fluorine has 19. All right, and this would be your mass number. 19 is your mass number. That's the first one. And the second part here is your proton number would be 9. That's it. Because they're asking you in terms of mass number. You don't have to include the proton, but if you want to include, it doesn't matter. But if you think about it, you only need 2 things. You need the definition and you need the reference point. Does that make sense? So if defined as the number of protons and neutrons with 19 as the mass number. All right? All good and clear with this section? So, 2 points in your hands. Next one. This is the tricky bit. Find the number of neutrons in the fluorine atom. Now, we all did mention, you see, these 2 questions are tying very beautifully. Because it's asking you, all right, protons and neutrons will give me my mass number. So, if I want to calculate the number of neutrons, you just came back from maths, right? So, all you need to do, rearrange the equation. That is why the first 2 points, this is the information given to you. It is given to you so that it is referenced properly. You know what to do in the exam. So therefore, if you want to find your number of neutrons, you bring the number of protons over. So number of neutrons would be your mass. Take away what? Number of protons. So in this case here, what is your mass? 10. Who said 10? Oh, don't blame anybody. I didn't hear she talking. I heard someone from the front here. I'm going to tell teacher 40 or whoever your math teacher will send you back to primary. 19 take away how much? And what's your number of neutrons? 10. Does everyone understand? Okay? That is how you tackle this point. Right? That is questions 1A and also 1B. Oh, good. I have this here. Okay. Shh. Now, the next part. This is a very common example, or rather example of a question. I tell you what, scrubbing this for the whole year, I can become the invincible Hulk. So many things to do. Okay. Now, look at the structure. Shh. Draw the structure of a fluorine atom. This here is very tricky. You got to remember, sometimes they don't give you that structure. Sometimes they do. So even if you don't know, remember just now, fluorine has this symbol. How would you draw the structure? Sorry? Yes? Sorry? Okay, a circle. Somebody remembers at least there's a circle. First thing, shh. You draw something like this. No one talks. You draw a circle like this. And you've got to remember, you're talking about an atom. The key word here is an atom. So what does that tell you in terms of your... Is it electrically neutral? So therefore, this will give you number of protons is the number of? Alright, so you know that 9 is your proton number. So 9 protons is how many electrons? Right? So you know that 9 is the magic number. So this is what you're going to do. Now, you're drawing one circle inside here. This is your first shell. What's the maximum electrons? 2. So 1 and a 2. Make sense? Okay. Shh. You got another 7 more after taking away here. So you draw another circle. How many would I fill here? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now some of you ask me, The position of the electrons. Does it mean that this is correct? Can I put 1 here and 2 here? Doesn't matter. As long as I can calculate 7, good enough. So again, all right, drawing the structure. 1.2 points. You have to have 2 shells. Everything must be ordered. Okay? Is everyone okay with this question? Is everyone okay with this question? Yes or no? I don't blame you, it's the end of the day. Okay. Part 1D. Some of you are going to go bonkers because of this. CJ, would you want to come up and talk to me? I hear a lot of chatting at the back there. Don't make me. Alright, in this case here, read this caption very carefully. Read this caption carefully. Using labeled diagrams, describe the process of how a fluorine atom changes into a fluoride anion. Alright? So, you have already drawn this structure from the previous. Alright? So, they're asking you to use labeled diagrams. So, you know that this is needed. That's for sure. And so, how does an atom become an anion? That's the question. What does it do? It gains electrons. Very good. Now, we know that this has an electronic configuration of 2 and 7. Remember, I think teacher Alvin and I had mentioned, it needs to be complete on the outermost shell, which is this one. What's the complete one? It must be 8. So again, you have to draw this. And when you have a color pen, you can just draw that again, an extra electron. Does that make sense? So, your configuration is that 2, 8. Now, what am I missing? The charge. Okay, now some of you ask me, teacher, but what charge am I going to put? A minus. But why minus? It has gained 1 electron, so therefore, this has 9 protons still, but 10 electrons. If we were to consider the overall charge, it will be minus. Okay, so again, this is already 1 point. 1 point for the charge, 1 point for the structure, and 1 point for the extra electron. Okay? Now, if you have done this, describe the process using label diagrams, and some of you might say, okay, I gain 1 electron. No problem. It is still correct. Because what we want to see is whether you understand the formation of your anion. Everyone clear with this chapter? Everyone clear with this question? Okay. If you have any questions, see me after this or see teacher Ivan. Right, let's move on. Okay, now, you have given to question number 2. It has 4 molecules, right? Now, before that, there will always be parts, because we did tell you there will be 60 marks for structure. So you can expect broken or even part-by-part questions. So this is one of them. Now, state what a compound means. What's a compound? Yep. Let me get his name. Prem.
It's 2 or more elements joined together can create.
Okay. Shh. Listen. You have 2 different types of elements in the same molecule itself, in the same compound. So your definition, only 1 mark. You can mention, look at all of these. Are all of these having 2 different types of elements?
Yeah.
So 2 different types of elements. So state what a compound here is. 2 different types of elements. Joined together, bonded together, it's all the same. Sorry if my writing is small, but you can hear from my voice. Okay? So remember, if you do not, which is the important keyword here? Different. If you leave two types, I'm going to assume it's the same type, you will not be awarded that point. So you got to be very careful with the choice of words that you're using as well. Yes, question. Okay. If I were to go back here, can it be more than two types? That's fine. It's also acceptable. All right? Because the important point, it needs to be different. That's the definition of a compound. Okay? All right. Because you had answered that two different types of compounds. Now, you can see why in the next section, the four molecules displayed are compounds. Why are they compounds? Again, you can mention, because now it's a bit more creative. Two different types of elements, you can say, explain why the four molecules. So you can say, in each of those different compounds, you have two different types of elements. For example, carbon dioxide has carbon and oxygen. Okay? Does that make sense? All good with this? So, remember, you got to read the question. I noticed that there are similarities. That's okay, because we are practicing right now. This is not definite. Like when we go through the exams, we are definitely very thorough about it. So don't worry. This is just for you to see how we give you different types of questions. Okay? Is everyone okay with this? Can I move on? All right. All right. Now, the next part. Total silence. The next part, the key word here is name. Right? So, which means if you are supposed to spell it out, you spell it. Now, this here do not have the names, that's fine. But on your question paper, you do have the names, right? Okay. Now, if they ask you to name, and you say, okay, name the molecule which contains a nitrogen atom. Which one here has nitrogen? Huh? Water? Water? Who said water? Tomorrow you're coming, I'm going to go after you already. Ammonia is the answer. Ammonia is the answer because it's the only one with a nitrogen element. Now, if you ask yourself and you write down NH3, right or wrong? Why? That is the compound, that's correct. You're only writing down the chemical symbol. You are not naming it. If you want to write down NH3, the question should state, identify the molecule. If it's identified, you can put in the name. You can even write down the formula. Not wrong, because you are selecting. But naming it specifically, you have to follow what is given. Okay, excuse me. Name the molecule with 5 atoms. Which one is which? Methane, all right, CH4. But you write down Methane. You spell the whole thing out. Okay. Now, because all of you have been sitting for a little bit long, for 1 hour, I only give you 2 minutes, stand up, stretch, and then sit down. Yeah. Just give me a second, huh?